Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our July Planning Advisory Committee meeting. Appreciate your attendance. Without further ado, we'll get right into the agenda for the evening, and I would first ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. None noted. Thank you. We'll now ask for approval of the agenda as presented. Councillor Kosovas, Mr. Edison, any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I would now ask for a motion to approve the minutes of June the 18th. I wasn't here, but Councillor McHugh moves it, second by Mr. Edison. Any errors, omissions, or correction? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I guess Don will sign that for you later, probably. So.
Yeah, get a pen.
Okay.
All set.
All right. Well, get right into the first part of the public meeting of the evening. And the public meetings are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting lands in the Sydney ward. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner for each application. First, I will identify each application being considered, and then I will ask planning staff to outline the application being considered, then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting, and have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no public comments or questions, I will ask the committee if they have any questions or comments. And once the committee's questions have been addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. This committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act. A full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, August the 12th, 2026. Council will make a decision on each of the stated application. Anyone other than the applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services, please advise the committee on how notice of these meetings were given. Brian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Notice of the applications being considered this evening were given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by first-class mail on June 26, 2026, and posting of signs on the subject properties on the same date.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll proceed now with the first public meeting of the evening, which is Staff 7.1, Staff Report 26-046 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owners John Visser and Colin Carlisle. Location is property west of 422 Rosebush Road. File numbers D09/S10/26. Ashley, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this rezoning is a condition of consent application B1/26S, which the Committee of Adjustment approved on February 12, 2026. Under the consent application, the Committee of Adjustment approved the severance of a 2.07 hectare lot for future development. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the conditionally approved severed lot from the agricultural zone to the rural zone. The rezoning would bring the severed lot into conformity with the city's zoning bylaw. The Building and Fire Department stated no concerns. Comments from Lower Trent Conservation indicate no objections. One resident asked for clarification regarding whether or not the conditionally approved retained lot would be developed. To date, no additional public comments have been received regarding this application. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to address this application in favor or opposition, or have any general questions? Seeing none, committee, I would ask you to consider the recommendation as presented.
I'll move it.
And entertain any questions. Moved by Councillor Quinte, second. Mr. Brown. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We now move to 7.2, Staff Report 26-47 PD, the zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Craig and Tammy Giroux. Location is 338 Harrington Road. The file number is D09/S12/26. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to satisfy condition of consent application B19/26S, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustment on July the 9th, 2026. This application proposes to rezone the retained parcel to the agricultural exception 33 zone and the severed parcel to the agricultural exception 34 zone. The agricultural exception 33 zone to be applied to the retained parcel will include a special provision to recognize a reduced lot frontage of 69 meters instead of the required 100 meters. The agricultural exception 34 zone that is to be applied to the severed parcel will include a special provision to recognize a reduced lot area of 9.5 hectares rather than the required 40 hectares. In addition, in accordance with comments received from Lower Trent Conservation Authority on the consent application, this application also proposes to place the field-verified wetlands on the property into the environmental protection zone. In 2025, the owner applied for an official plan amendment to establish a site-specific policy to permit the creation of a new agricultural lot with a reduced lot frontage and area. The application was recommended for approval by the Planning Advisory Committee on December 18th, 2025, and was approved by Council on January the 21st, 2026. Overall, the application is not consistent with policies in the provincial planning statement, however, is consistent with the new policies contained in the city's official plan and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to address this application, either in favor or have any questions? How about the applicants have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. That makes it very easy for us then.
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Coonsey, second by Councillor McHugh. Any further questions, committee? All in favor of approval? Carried, thank you. Your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to the members of council together with the minutes of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse each stated application at the regularly scheduled council meeting of Wednesday, August the 12th. And item 8 is public input. Don't all rush up at once, please. Thank you. Presentations, none. Delegations, no. Decision items, and we're now into printed information. We have A and B, monthly planning and development reports. And I would entertain and the site plan control, a motion to receive them all. Councillor McHugh?
Yep.
Councillor Coonsey? Any questions or comments regarding those reports? Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the building report, I see the Homestead new hotel the site work has been started, which is great. And they also opened up a health club on Monday. So the Homestead's doing very well lately.
Yeah, thank you. Staff, any updates on the hotel or anything? Other, it's in progress, I guess. Okay, well, that's good. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Non-printed information, there's none. Requests for information. Mr. Edison.
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Jardine. After our last meeting, on my drive home, on the radio, they were talking about data centers. It came on fast and furious, and they were interviewing a councillor from the city of Hamilton who's put a total ban on data centers. I think they're looking more at the large data centers, but the biggest issue that they have with them is the constant drone noise that travels quite a distance. And me not being quite a distance, was curious that once this is in place, I'm not against the industry coming in, but I'm curious if there is a constant noise or a drone like that, how would that be addressed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think the starting point would be to go with the information that's provided by the proponent, and we're still working through those technical details. There will be a requirement if the application does get approved under the zoning, there would still be a requirement for a technical application, so a site plan application with a site plan agreement registered on title, and all of the documents, all of the studies that are make part of the application would be contained within that. So that would be the obligation for them to meet those standards and continue to meet those standards, and the city would have that authority under the site plan control agreement.
Thank you. So secondary to well, lost my train. With when the center goes in, I'm just wondering, have we looked at, or has your group looked at the reasoning behind other municipalities or other within the country, why some people are so dead against this, or is this a consideration for our city?
Through Mr. Chair, that's a very good question. It's something that we are kind of grappling with right now as well. And I think I maybe kind of spoke partly to it at the last meeting. So this is my opinion on what I'm seeing happening, not just across the province, but across the country. Data centers are getting a lot of attention. As with anything that gets attention right now, the speed at which that grows through various media forms is quite expansive. A lot of the articles that are out there talk about the issues that we are already aware of, right? So excessive use of hydropower, use of water for cooling, and noise seem to be the majority, but there is certainly a lot of public input and also articles that allude to other issues that might come from these data centers, although they're not really qualified as to what, it hasn't really been qualified as to what that is. I think there is a recognition, like you say, that a lot of the wider concern is coming from very large data center development, because that seems to be the kind of preferred model, particularly in the US, and obviously with a much larger scale, the impacts are significantly larger. At this point in time, the tool the municipalities have, it's very challenging for a municipality to ban something outright, because that obviously opens up the municipality to challenge. What some municipalities, I think the one you referred to, is doing this, is they're imposing what's called an interim control bylaw, which basically puts a moratorium on a use. It's a tool that a municipality can say, we want to know more about this before we allow for this type of use in our community. So you can put an interim control bylaw in place. It lasts for a maximum of 1 year, but the condition is that the municipality will do the review of all of the pertinent issues, all of the land use issues, noise, resource use, impact, etc., and then come back to council and committees with a resolution and a recommendation. And then council will have to decide whether or not there's a justification for having a ban, or having certain areas that permit for that use, or allowing for them as of right. So that's a tool that the municipality could enact. That's a tool that any municipality could say, we want to kind of put a pin in this for now and get further review. I think what we would need to know as staff is, what is it we're reviewing, right? And I think I spoke to this last time. We are reviewing the things that we know are present impacts of any form of industrial use, and also watching what is being reviewed in other data centers. So those are the conditions that we've already spoken to. Definitely has to be scaled. The proposal that's in front of the city at the moment is a much smaller entity, so the impacts are much smaller. So definitely council have that tool to say, do a further review on this. We feel confident at this point in time, subject to the work that is still being undertaken, that we are, even within this one application, we are reviewing the technical impacts that are present, right? Without buying into some idea that there's a much higher and greater impact that we don't know about, right? So you've got to be careful that you're dealing with facts and not kind of suppositions. So that's the path that we're trying to navigate right now. Obviously, this application is not back in front of the committee. It still has to come back with a recommendation. We're still working through those technical details with the proponent. So there's still time for committee and or council to give us further direction, either on the application or on a wider interim control bylaw, if that's council's desire.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Quincy, Councillor O'Neill.
Just for information to the discussion. So Hamilton actually voted down the ban, and it was a ban to put a moratorium or a one-year moratorium on data centers, but they voted it down. So that means that the whatever is being proposed in Hamilton is still going forward. Just so you had an update. That was in the news today, and I just pulled the article up here that it was a split vote, but the mayor and councillors voted the moratorium down. So they're going ahead with the project at whatever stage they're at. I don't know what stage they're at. So it's the work is still continuing to get it started. Just so you know.
Okay, Councilor Nail.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Jardine. I wasn't able to attend that meeting because I had another meeting I had to attend. But from what I saw, if you could confirm, the power is available for like two of the major concerns. One is power, and there's adequate power there. The second is water cooling, and this one won't be water cooling. So it seems a lot of the major concerns aren't going to be with this site.
Through Mr. Chair, yeah, that's correct. That's part of the. I think that's part of the presentation of the proponent here. They seem to be looking for what I think you refer to as opportunity sites, where there's an existing building that has been historic industrial use that creates noise and emissions and impact, etc. So that is already in place, where there's obviously a power source that's available, and the proponent certainly spoke, the committee heard him in relation to his opinion on water-cooled systems. That seems to be the biggest reaction that municipalities are facing, particularly in the States. If you've read anything from the States, it's kind of ironic that some of these large footprint data centers are going in some of the states that have significant water issues, but they're still using water cooling. That's not there's no proposal to do that here. The proponent spoke to the fact that in Canada water cooling is not something that proponents are doing anymore. It's becoming kind of old technology for all of the reasons that we just stated. The other thing that's important to note as well about the hydro usage, because there were public members or members of the public here that spoke to a concern over the impact on overall power supply. We did have a separate meeting with Hydro One. They were very clear with us that they deal with clients. They are a service provider. If the service is available, they will serve the provider at that location. The power is available to service this building, because obviously it was an industrial use before. Power is available at that. You can't suddenly take that power without obviously updating all of your transmission lines and send it somewhere else. So the idea that it's using large amounts of power that will stop, housing development or something happening elsewhere. That's not how that works. That, new development would have to provide its own power sources if they're not already available. So I think one of the aspects of this particular project was that it was utilising available power at that site. It would otherwise be redundant. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Still due to data centers. I think everyone's kind of due to data centers. I do have a little experience when it comes to noise, though. I actually have a little bit of hearing damage from the one-horse industry in the town I grew up in. So I grew up in a little town shore of Nippingen Bay, and the one industry was a pulp and paper mill, and it was actually a Narampac mill, just like the one we had here. It was noisy. There's a lot of noisy stuff that happens there. And then on top of that, right up against the back of the town is basically a 300-400 foot rock face, which just basically echoes everything back right in there. But the one saving grace was that when they were building all the residences in the town in the 50s and 60s, they had the wherewithal to plant a lot of vegetation, and that is going to be your best natural sound baffling, hands down. I lived in Ottawa. Ottawa is much less noisy than Toronto. I know it's not the same population, but I can recall going to a playground and a splash pad that's right beside the 417. You don't hear it because they have basically a bush beside it. There was a place called Mud Lake. It was a conservation area. You think you were in the middle of a provincial park. You had no idea the freeways behind you. And these are places we regularly went. So the thing is, obviously, you can't just plant a tree and then it's, you know, it's there, right? So obviously, using what we have, that I think we have a lot of natural advantages around here in that we do have a lot of heavily treed areas, and that by far, I think we got to be open to industry. Obviously, we got to strike a balance between, you know, where they were maybe 80 years ago, where they didn't care about any environmental impact, whatever, just like, yeah, build, employ, employ, employ. We do have to look at, I think, a balanced way, but that, I think, it is one of our advantages here, is that we do have, thankfully, a lot of trees. Strong argument to keep some of them.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Stuart. Yeah, definitely that's potential consideration. They will, as I said, have to go through site plan control. There is the opportunity there, if it was warranted, to ask for additional buffering. I think, again, one of the opportunities, and when I necessarily speak for the proponent, but one of the opportunities that they saw on this site was the fact that any sensitive land uses, i.e. housing, the building is between the units that would make the noise and the residences. So basically the cooler units are on the back of the building beside the 401, which is obviously already a noise source in and of itself, and the building will also provide a buffer between that noise source and any residences. So yeah.
One last question.
Yep.
I understand that it's not going to be water cooled, but it's got to be cooled somehow, so there will be fans there. The fans will be running 24/7 and to cool things down. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm just saying that I just was asking if we were looking at everything. I was just asking for input. I didn't say anything about being against this. Just to let other members know.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, that's exactly that. It's the fans for the cooling system plus emergency generators that are the noise source that are being tested. So that's what the noise study is related to. So you're correct. That is the noise source. Yeah.
I guess I read through the minutes there and of the public input and everything, and some of the things you've talked about here, I did recognize them, but I recall that the one lady, I think it was, that said that it was going to tap our resources of water and sewer. Well, we lost two big users, and which was the paper mill and Saputo, which they used a lot of water in their manufacturing process. So I know we lost a lot of income in that sense. That some of this may, you know, take back and provide some more income plus work and everything. But getting back to the fan noise, Brian and any other staff that were here, do you remember what we went through with CB freezers with the people down there when they went to more cooling fans there? The one neighbor said it was set, like living beside a Hercules, sitting there day and night revving. And I don't know, they put some kind of baffles or mufflers on them, but as I recall at that time, it was back in John Williams's mayoralty, when we had a couple of three heated meetings here with the neighbors, I think you might recall, but I remember we went through a term with that, with the cooling fans being real noisy. So they did something because they're still there, and I know the cooling must be still going on. But
yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, I think was that not a combination of cooling fans, but then they had reefer trucks as well? I think it was part of it. So I think they lost the reefer trucks. I think that was maybe part of what happened. But yeah, I mean, you know, as with anything, we have to base it on the data that we get, and the data is the noise study. There are what are recognised as reasonable levels of background ambient sound. So that's what we're looking for in the study, and obviously, if and when we bring back a recommendation report, we'll detail that within the report.
any more questions on that? Okay, we'll come down. Mike, anything else? Councillor McHugh? Councillor Quinte?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about when it comes to advertising for various meetings and applications. We just lost the Community Press newspaper. We don't, yeah, Trentonian, like Quinte West or Trenton or any of our local communities other than Belleville have a newspaper. Any plans or ideas? Like, I have a few suggestions, but what about your planning department?
Right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's a good question. It's a conversation that we're having with our communications staff right now. Not just for planning applications, but obviously the newspaper served a function for a lot of different parts of city business. The Planning Act, as you know, we're governed by the Planning Act, including how we notify, and the Planning Act does give municipalities certain options, either print press. We always have to do the physical circulation, which we will obviously continue to do to the neighbouring residents, but we do have the option to use the website as the alternative to the newspapers. So what we're talking to the communications right now about how we would amend the web page in order to get kind of clearer direction for people to get to that information. So the Planning Act does allow us for various options, but yeah.
Well, I agree with those, but my suggestion is, like, we have some electronic signage, like there's one in Frankfurt and Trenton. And I suggested a number of years ago that we could put up a digital sign out at Tucker's Corners. And I know the city has numerous properties all over the place that perhaps maybe the management team, you could go back to the management team and we could somehow start a plan where we are building some digital or electronic signage throughout the municipality so that when people are out going to work and running their errands and going to visit their family and friends, that they could maybe catch these signs once in a while to see about updates to anything having to do with our planning department and other advertising. That's just my thought, that we could certainly use the Facebook and use the internet, but not everybody's on Facebook and not everybody's on the internet. And I understand not everybody has a car either, but we could definitely do that extra step. Thanks.
And I will add that in the Committee of Adjustment, the said properties are marked and signed, and I'm not sure everybody drives by them all the time, but probably when the official plan amendments and stuff is most stuff you have to put in the paper, I think, and propose stuff like that. And even this rezoning and that, the properties are marked, and so people can see them. So, but I know it's not going to be the same, but everybody doesn't get the paper either, and
They don't.
it's hard, and I know everybody doesn't have electronic situation either. We talked to people, and I think Dave talked to somebody the other day, didn't have cell phones or email or nothing, and they're the old style, I guess, of communication. So you have to take that in consideration. So I think probably billboard, like you're talking, if you electronic billboard or something is probably a good idea. But anyway, you'll have to work on that coming up.
I just wanted to follow up with you mentioned about the posting of the signs on the property. One year, the sign was posted on the property, but I believe it was like March or April when the sign was posted. And of course, next thing you know, May comes along and the bushes and the trees like just exploded. You couldn't even see the sign because there were so many bushes and trees in front of it. It was kind of comical. Thanks.
Councilor O'Neill, and then I'll go to Mr. Brown for the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Jardine. Question on the Site Plan Control Committee minutes. We've talked about it. The 79 East Davis Street proposal for the site is a hotel. That's, I believe, the Southless Pista site, and there's apartments there, and there's a lot of construction going on now. So is it already approved, and is that what's going to go there?
Yes, through the chair, the recent change there is that the apartments are being changed into hotels, so they're kind of changing their model a little bit. It was already allowed under the zoning, so they're going through building permits for the interior work to transform what were the apartments into hotel suites, and obviously restaurant, etc., on the ground floor. And then they've got a site plan for the reconfiguration of the parking lot, relining the parking lot, etc. So there's a number of applications ongoing there right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, you get the last kick of the can here.
My wife never lets me have the last word. okay, I know a little bit about advertising too, and obviously there's a lot you could do with social media, also leveraging, you know, power of influencers, partnering with them for promotional things. But as far as, you know, just regular notices like this, we'll draw your attention to last week, Rogers announced that they were buying the remaining stake of MLSE. They spent about 4.3 billion, I think was the transaction. Next day, they kind of whispered that they were shuttering a bunch of radio stations, and they laid off about 220 people or so. That's kind of how that industry is going right now. We do, however, have five radio stations here. We're in this weird little island where we have 5 independently owned radio stations. They're all broadcasting from here. Their programming is from here, not from some central. Sometimes it's not even in Canada that this programming on other stations is originally from, but here we have them. They employ local people. They promote our city. They promote just our presence. And I think a good way to reciprocate that is to help boost them a little bit, and look at that. You lost the community press, and that again is very indicative how traditional media is going these days. We have these radio stations. I think it's important to use them.
Brian?
Stu, Mr. Chair. I think one thing about the planning applications, to go back to what the chair said about the signpostings, as the committee know, the vast majority of applications that come to this committee are specific to a site. And I think I would be probably right in suggesting that the majority, the most important piece of notification there is through the signposting that's on the site, and the circulation that goes to the neighbourhood. That's where I would hazard a guess we get 99.9% of the input on that application, because it relates to the people that live in that area and they have the highest level of interest. Very rarely do you get somebody on a site-specific application that's somewhere else in the city that's picking up the newspaper ad or something like that. Where that changes is where we do larger projects, where we're doing like an amendment overall, like some of these housekeeping amendments. That's where we could use, whether it's radio, whether it's some sign notifications. There's definitely these different options, and we already do when we're doing like our updates to our zoning bylaw, updates to the official plan. There's radio announcements. There's more of a kind of a citywide kind of platform for that. So there's definitely these options that we can use. I don't believe it would be a good use of resources to try and, you know, go citywide on an application that relates to something on, you know, Roblin Road or whatever it might be. You're really missing your audience at that point in time. I don't know if you would really get your bang for your buck there. I think it would be the citywide changes to policy that would be interested in doing that wider reach.
What about Harrington Road?
Any particular road.
Murray Harrington,
Murray Harrington.
but it's still Harrington Road.
It still has Harrington in it. Yes, that's right.
Okay. Staff have anything you'd like to bring forward tonight? Here's your chance. No revelations to announce or anything like that. Thanks for your attendance, and go ahead, Brian.
I don't know if we mentioned this at the last committee, probably not. Unfortunately, and you'll see that Laura's not, Laura Ganasio's not with us this evening. Laura has actually accepted a job in a different department, still with the city, but within the community services department. So she'll be starting that position next week. So thank her for her service to the department, and sorry to be losing her. We are just getting into interviews now for the replacement. So
I was going to say, this last term that I've been chairman, I think I've been hard on secretaries because I'm starting to lose my fingers here of counting how many I've had. Now I've got Andrea, and we also have her for agriculture advisory too. So I'll try and be nice in the next 3 or 4 months anyway. But anyway, yes, we appreciated, you know, Laura's commitment and everything. But anyway, moving on to bigger and better things, I guess. That's always good.
you're becoming notorious for your effects on people.
Well, as long as it's just me and not everybody else. Anyway, well, thank you. Okay, we have no notice of motion that I see coming forward, and the next meeting date is August the 20th, 2026, 6 PM, same place. Hopefully this construction will be done out here then. I notice this is going to be closed off out here and for a couple of weeks, so we'll have to see how things play out in that regard. So anyway, the big decision now comes, adjournment. Mr. Edison, moved, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Opposed? Oh, God, it's unanimous. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.